Now, gaming releases from manufacturers don't seem to be slowing down at all. If anything, in 2020, we're actually seeing a lot more gaming-orientated, focused models. We've got two releases from blackshark. They have the blackshark 3, then the blackshark 3 Pro, which I also happen to have. That will be in another video. Now, this particular model is the local release. It's going to be released here in Europe, and I have the European version that was sent out to me from blackshark in exchange for this video, but all the opinions expressed in this review, 100% my own, of course, and they are not approving this video before it is published, or am I being paid for this? Now, this model is the 8GB version. This has 128GB of UFS 3 storage, and of course that 90Hz screen, full HD. It's an AMOLED panel, in-screen fingerprint reader. The specs go on. You can find them listed right here now on the screen, and also time codes. So this is an in-depth, detailed review. I'm going to cover pretty much everything you need to know before considering buying this phone right here.
So let's have a look first at what we get in the box. So the charger, this one is 65 watts and it will charge the phone fully from about 1% right up to 100 in around 41 minutes, which is very quick. It's dual charging, so there's two separate batteries in there. That's how it can do the 65 watt charging. We get a Type-C to USB cable, so the magnetic cable that you can use to charge it and clip onto the rear doesn't actually come in the box, sadly. You have to buy that as a separate accessory. We also get a case here, and this case does the job. It's great to have it included, and most manufacturers are now including cases, which is great. So the build of the phone is solid. It's a combination of both glass and metal, and I actually do like it. And a lot of people may say, well, you know, it's a little bit over the top. So the S logo here with the blackshark, this is where we do have some RGB lighting in here, which I'll show you later on. There's also a couple of strips here that you can see on the back of this one. Now, this is a heavy phone. It does weigh 223 grams, according to my scales, and it is about 11 millimeters thick, 11.1 if you include the camera. If you don't include the camera, then it's about 10.5 millimeters. Next to the blackshark 3 Pro, which will be reviewed in the channel too, by the way, so make sure you later check back for that one. You can see that it is quite a bit smaller because this one is a mammoth of a phone. This is 7.1 inches. That one weighs 260 grams, even heavier, but both have a very good build to them. The 6.67 inch screen is what we have on the blackshark 3. Now, when you look at the screen here, that yes, we do have an in-screen fingerprint reader, and it is performing. I'll just show you now with the icon there quite well for me. It unlocks. It's not the fastest I have seen, but overall, I am not actually bothered by it at all, because it used to be that the capacitive always on rear fingerprint readers to me were just so much better, but this one is actually working quite good. I'd say it's about 9 times out of 10. And you can see that was even slower then, so it's not the fastest as mentioned. Now the bezels top and bottom, yes, they're there, but at least we do not have, number 1, a curved screen, number 2, no cutout for the front-facing camera, and number 3, no notch on this, and I do like this. It is a 90Hz screen. So for ports down the bottom, we have a Type-C port. This is USB 2 specs, sadly, and this is typical with Xiaomi that no video out support here, and it's a little bit painful passing huge files over USB 2 speeds, but hopefully in the future they will be able to give us USB 3.1 with their next up-and-coming flagships, maybe next year. So there are dual front-facing loudspeakers as well. With this one, there will be a sample. The buttons on the left up the top there, they are made out of metal, good feel to them, and we do have a SIM tray that takes dual nano SIM. So no micro SD card support, no expandable storage, but at least up the top we do have a 3.5mm headphone jack, which I think all gaming phones really do need to have. Now, the quality out of this one, I think, is almost, well, one of the best I have heard. It is very, very good here. I do like the analog output from Xiaomi. And then our power button, so this one also made out of metal. Now, the position of it, I find it should be a little bit lower. That's just me being a little bit picky maybe, but when I go to press it, I find that often I have to shuffle my thumb up and then press it when you're holding it left-handed with my, right-handed. And I also noticed too that the switch is in a kind of an awkward position, but that's when you're using it landscape. So you can flick that over then and go into the game space, the Game Shark mode, which is their dedicated gaming hub. Now in the display settings right here, we've got our refresh rate. So you got your standard 60, which it comes with out of the box, or of course the high. Now I do recommend actually running high, but right now on camera, I've noticed that I get a little bit of banding if I've got it on high there, even with this right here, which is the hardware DC dimming enabled. So we've got that anti-flicker mode, which is on. We've got the DSP display enhancement, super cinema modes. You've got the video HDR mode as well. So this display has a maximum brightness of around about 810 nits that I have measured, and it does support HDR10 plus. So it is a very good display to me. However, I've noticed in direct sunlight, even with that 800 nits of brightness plus, it still can be a little bit hard to make out. Now, real world images that I'm showing you right now look really good. Great, no problems, especially indoors. Now, if you're in the sun, as mentioned, maybe not so great there, but the touch sensing on this has a 270 hertz rate, and it is very responsive to touch. It is really, really good here. Edge detection as well, I've noticed, seems to be very good. Full screen gestures is what I'm running at the moment. And yes, when you do swipe from the sides, sometimes your finger kind of digs into the pre-applied screen protector that's on there. You could get rid of it then, and it will be a little bit more comfortable, and there is 2.5D glass on the very edges around the screen, of course. And the gamma comes out to be somewhere around 2.3 to 2.4, but overall it is a very good panel, and you of course can customize the screen scaling, font size, and the white balance like most phones nowadays. So this phone right now, I've got it running at 90 Hertz. It is running Android 10, and we're on Joy UI. So Joy UI is a customized version of MIUI, purposely built and customized for, blackshark, for the blackshark team. And I found that the team is doing a very good job here with the optimization, because this is very good. This is better performance than I think MIUI 11. It just tends to be working a lot better when you swap over between apps as well. And I've noticed the animations are a lot smoother. This is including at 90 Hertz, I think smoother than what I tested out with the Mi 10 and the Mi 10 Pro here. Now we do have apps drawer if you wanted that setting in there. I don't normally show that, but I'm starting to show it now, aren't I? Because people have been asking. Under settings here, that is where you would change it. All sorts of different options, but I won't go into all of that. So I do have my memory status there enabled to show that. Launcher override if you wanted to. So if you installed Nova Launcher, go ahead and then select that one as the default. So those gestures, full screen gestures, are working well. All up, performance, very good. So let's jump into a few other things, like what about the bloatware we have? When you first get it, you're going to see a few bloatish apps. Now, lighting effect here, this is all to do with the RGB lights on the rear of the phone. That's the S logo and two other tiny little strips. You can customize that, use it for notifications. It is actually rather handy to see that you've got a missed text message or call or something come through. You've probably seen the blackshark here has been flashing away with that green logo there. That's because I have a text message. So free space on it. You get about 103 to 4 gigabytes on the 128 gigabyte version. And GPS. We do have dual frequency GPS on this one, and it is working as expected for a Qualcomm powered device. We're going to get accuracy of 3 meters, nothing better than that. Very good average signal strength, and it's working well. And that was just me testing out the carrier frequencies there. Now, internal storage here, because I have the 128 gigabyte version, it's UFS 3, and these speeds are actually a little bit low, the random reads and writes, for UFS 3. Okay, but that's because I've just got the smaller size storage here. But that's not to say this is bad. This is still fast and not going to bottleneck a phone like this with the speed here. Now, wireless, it is good and it is also bad. Well, not bad, but average, okay? So right here, the maximum speed average, that is excellent. This is on 5G wireless band, of course. And what about the range and the performance at such ranges? So here, 96 megabits per second on average, far away, 2 signal strength bar there. Yeah, that you might think that's actually okay, but I was getting with the Redmi K30 Pro 300 and something right here, 3 times faster than this. So I think at range, the wireless on this one is just a little bit slower than it should be. Hopefully some optimization with the firmware updates and things will come through to correct that and make it a bit faster. Not to say it's bad, but it's, it just could be faster there. So here we have the Widevine Level 1 cert. This is good because I'm on the global ROM here. They really did need to have this, and they do, which is great. And we do have Camera 2 API Level 3 support. So this jargon means that Google Camera ports, so Gcam, they're going to work on this phone. And look for them too to improve on the camera quality. Geekbench 5 score, very good. And here we have ludicrous mode. So ludicrous mode is this little funny chicken thing that comes up. I'll show you later on how to get into all of this and do that with the gaming mode just after this. And what it is to really boost the performance. And it just gives you a little bit of a warning there that your phone's going to get hot and it's going to kill your battery life. We'll go through it, burn through it a lot faster. That gave me an Antutu score of this one, so 562,000. And if you turned it off and run it normally, well, you're going to get only a few thousand points less. So really, it doesn't make that much sense to bother with it. Now, what about battery life? This is very important. So first up, 90 hertz. This is not the default refresh rate, by the way. You get 12 hours and 28 minutes at my fixed 200 nit screen brightness, all devices now that I'm testing. And this is pretty good result, and very good actually for 90 hertz, all right? So it's a fixed looping benchmark. And if you chop that refresh rate down to 60 hertz, you of course do save on battery. And that will give us an additional few hours of screen on time, but really I don't think it's actually worth it. Just run the 90 hertz. You're still going to get at least a full heavy day out of this, and even 2 days for most people with this phone. So that is great. Now onto the gaming, but before I just wanted to show you this, that we do have a security patch level here of February, all right? So it's out by a couple of months, but that'll probably be updated soon with the firmware update. So I'll flick the switch here, and you'll see that it then launches into our Shark space, which is their dedicated now gaming hub. Now, this is handy to have. We don't have the triggers, remember, with this particular model. If you want the gaming triggers at the top, then you need to get this one, which of course is the Pro model. It has the pop-out mechanical triggers. It's really quite cool to have that, the addition. If you're really serious about your gaming, you can customize those triggers there with that one. But we've got this nice menu, so your games will be automatically added, or you can add whatever you want in that there yourself. And I'll show you that these options are here. So you've got, when you launch it, option to reject calls, clear the memory, and it will even tweak the touch response, accidental touches. You get the idea, just things to really tweak things. Now, Game Assistant, there's a lot of different things in here. Now, what I have enabled, which I quite like, is a frames per second monitor here. So we can actually monitor and see what the frame rate is the whole time. Our game voice optimization as well is in here. There's all sorts of settings that are very handy to gamers if you're really serious about being competitive and playing PUBG with your teens and Call of Duty, etc. You know, you want to get right up there and be one of the best out there. Then there are lots and lots of options. Now, if you tap here, you will go over to, okay, I need the permissions here just to show you the arsenal, what they call their accessories. Okay, so you've got a cooling fan, you've got a mechanical keyboard even you can get for this thing, and then the gamepad. So that's really quite a lot in terms of accessories, and of course, more money to throw at it. Depends how much you really want to spend. Just before I jump into some actual gameplay, if you swipe from the top corners here, you get this additional menu. So you've got per game settings here. And this is to do with, well, your anti-interruption service. So you don't have any calls coming through. You can block them off messages when you're gaming. And there's more settings to go into. I won't cover exactly everything here. But we've got the game studio for each game, as I mentioned. So here you can set some lighting options, the haptic feedback vibration. Now the vibration motor in this one is very strong. It's great. I do like it. Very good. Network settings there. Okay. So you can prefer like if you're on data. So I would set this to 4G here. And there's actually a toggle in the firmware to turn off the 5G that it's not looking for it because I don't have 5G in my zone, my area. Audio settings, touch sensitivity settings for each game. Remember, display, so you can override the frequency there or set which one you want for the game that supports it if it doesn't. So PUBG is only going to support 60, this particular version, and then performance. Okay, so here it's telling us, so we've got CPU and GPU there, and the heat, it's telling us the heat and the effect on the battery. Right now it's in the balance mode, so if you can tweak this up to the top mode, I'll just scroll that up. It's telling us we're going into our ludicrous mode with that rooster there. It's getting hot, and it's told us, okay, everything's in the red right here. So yeah, it does get quite warm, I've noticed. And that is to be expected. This is passively cooled as well. So there's just other little tweaks in there. If you decide that, no, I want battery life, then you scale it down a little bit, okay? So this is just controlling the CPU and GPU governors from, say, a high performance governor to a more power efficient one, just not clocking those clocks up so high. So this game is on the extreme frame rate setting option. So that is the 60 that we can get with the current global release version of it. So I hope that a patch is going to come out soon to finally give us 90 frames per second, and even 120, 144 would be great for this particular title here. So it's just a constant smooth 60 frames per second or 59. Now the audio, very immersive. These are great stereo loudspeakers here and frontwards firing as well. They do add to the game enjoyment, the immersion you get with this title. So the 90 hertz, the 90 frames per second support is all going to be down to the game developers supporting this, and of course to blackshark. So let's have a look at a title that should actually run at 90 frames per second with the 90 hertz refresh rate. Now that little widget at the top here, this can be dragged around wherever you want it. And I'm just keeping that up here, of course, just to show you the thermals. And you can see that this is just a solid 90 frames per second the whole time. And it does make the game quite a bit more enjoyable, actually being just that much smoother while I'm getting shot at. And yeah, the speakers on this are very, very good. Even a newer title here like Shadowgun War Games, this one is running at 60 frames per second max only, so no 90 frames per second option. Now on the ultra high setting, I have found that it will, fragged him, that's good. It will run a steady 60 frames per second the whole time. Now looking at the thermals, I've seen the battery temperature get up to, as you can see my little gauge widget right here, get up to about 39 degrees maximum. The back of it is quite warm, so let's have a look at just how warm it's getting now that I have been gaming for approximately 40 minutes. So the internal battery temperature reports the widget that I have about 38.9 degrees on the battery, and this thermal probe here is saying around about 37. So yeah, it's going to get hot and, well, warm to the touch when gaming for extended periods. And let's have a look at this screen now. So I just finished up a game, and that is about 34 or so maximum there. So yeah, as mentioned, it is going to get warm, but the thermals are actually quite good. Very good, in fact, probably better than a lot of the other phones out there, flagship ones that aren't gaming phones, that is. So we do have two frontwards firing speakers, which is good, means you cannot really block them when you're playing games in landscape, and they are loud, but not the loudest I have heard. Now the other thing is the 3.5mm headphone output quality to me sounds excellent, really good, and voice call quality, no problems. So here's a sample from those dual stereo front-facing loudspeakers. Now over to our camera, let's take a look at its performance. So I believe that the cameras do need a lot of optimization, and you'll see why when I show you the samples. So we've got this right here, the ultra wide. If you tap that, that goes over to the 13 megapixel camera. The main sensor is that 64 megapixel IMX686 from Sony. Portrait mode, night mode, 64 megapixel mode, and the Pro mode right here. So Pro mode, we have ISO that goes right up to 3200. You've got your focus control there, shutter rate, white balance too. And we do have this, if you tap on the 256, this is the 256 megapixel mode, which is cropping an image all into actually various different photos to create this. And really you gain nothing. It has a very slow shutter and very long processing, about 15 seconds. So yes, if you crop right in, okay, you can do it, but look at the details here. Not so great. It looks a little bit blurred. It's not brilliant. Very digital almost. Like this is 4K 30 frames per second, and like all of the video modes, the audio bitrate is just 90 kilobits per second, which is like a standard for Xiaomi there. And no electronic image stabilization with this one is a little bit disappointing, I must say, because if they had it, then we could have some nice smooth footage. As you see as I walk ahead, it does shake around all over the place. Now there is also ultra-wide video, but yes, you guessed it, no electronic image stabilization on any video here, so we can fit more in the shot, and it doesn't look too bad, the quality, but it just shakes around all over the place without a gimbal. So with a front-facing camera here, we do not have any electronic image stabilization. This was like the previous blackshark models that I also reviewed in the channel. So going up the stairs here, you can see it does shake around all over the place.
So we have a great gaming focused phone here, very good build quality, excellent battery life. I mean, it did perform very well even at 90 Hertz, which was a bit of a surprise because a lot of phones, 90 Hertz really kills that battery, but not really so much with this particular one here. The AMOLED screen does help. So out of the box, by default, it's actually 60 Hertz, which was interesting. I thought they would have just gone by the default 90. I mean, after all, it's the spec that you're paying for. So, you just change that over. It's not a problem. And the trade-off of the battery life, I think is worth it. But if you are in a day, for example, you know that you're going to be, it's going to be a long day, and I know that I won't be able to charge my phone until I get home, then of course just run it at 60 Hertz. Now the camera quality, that is one area to me that blackshark have clearly overlooked. Maybe to them it's a gaming phone. Gamers don't really care too much about selfies and video quality. But it's not actually too hard for them at all. In fact, it's just software for them to add electronic image stabilization to 4K to, in fact, all video and the front-facing camera, and also improve that audio quality would be great. Optimization to me for the night mode and other portrait shots and things like that do need a bit of optimization, as well as the ultra-wide. But at least, okay, we do have a good set of cameras on this that do have potential, and if you find yourself a good Gcam port, after all, we do have camera API to support here level 3, that's maximum. So we'll be able to get hopefully better quality using Gcam. I haven't actually checked that one out just yet because I tend to review devices out of the box. So good battery life, good build, all of that. It is a good phone worth considering if you're into gaming. But for the camera, if you must have a really good camera as well, then hold off, wait and see if perhaps blackshark are going to release a patch that will at least improve that camera quality there before taking the plunge and pulling the trigger on the blackshark 3. Now the Pro model, this is currently being tested out and I'm reviewing it at the moment. So there will be a dedicated separate review for this one. This of course is much larger, but it does have the capacitive hardware triggers on this and actually a better screen too as well. So do subscribe and check out the review of this one when I publish that one. So make sure you don't miss it, enable notifications, and I'll see you in the next one.